guys, back with more Lost Judgment, probably the last episode for today. Let's
I'm a
continue on.
night owl, so my work's just starting.
Also
I
listening to
recommend you
my
get some sleep for
PS4
tomorrow.
exclusive right
If
now.
you want to close your eyes for a bit,
This
the
one, huh?
couch is surprisingly comfortable.
And that is Detroit Become Human. Now, I am a big Quantic Dream fan. I mean, I do really love Heavy Rain, despite its flaws. I love Heavy Rain. I love Beyond Two Souls, and I think Detroit is definitely the best game of the bunch. I mean, I've done
The
Quantic Dream
Chinese
in the past, and yeah, Detroit is my favorite game that they've made. I think this is the game that they've made that really does make your choices feel like they matter. I mean, there are so many different outcomes for different scenarios within this game that it's ridiculous. It really is so impressive, the branching storylines within this game. Obviously, you can find fault with a couple things. I mean, things like when Connor dies in a scene, like he gets revived the next Connor scene anyway. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, things like that obviously can negate that. But for the most part, your choices matter a good chunk in this game. And it's something I'll always give them credit for. However, the writing is very mixed. I mean, I think, again, conceptually, I think the story is pretty great. I mean, the story of these androids fighting for equality, but seen from 3 different perspectives, I think that's a really interesting take on the narrative. However, it's just so heavy-handed. I mean, again, the way that David Cage writes his story is just so blatant and in your face that it does get very preachy at points. However, I do still think that the narrative, for the most part, works. I mean, again, like, it's David Cage. You should know what to expect from him at this point. But for the most part, I did really enjoy Detroit Become Human, despite the flaws in the writing. It lands here at number 8. Now, number 7.
Really? These aren't voice acted?
This game higher. I really do. I've already done a video on this immediately after I first played the game, and then I replayed the game, hoping that my opinion on the game would go up. But to be honest, I think it went down. And that is Ghost of Tsushima. And obviously, a lot of people love this game. A lot of people think of this as one of the best PS4 exclusives. And I mean, it's number 7 on the list. I mean, it's pretty high. And again, like, I enjoyed this game, especially from a gameplay perspective. I'm from a open world perspective. I think this is one of the best open worlds of the generation. And I like a lot of the little gameplay mechanics that work within the open world. Like, I really like the guiding wind mechanic. But for me, I think I just don't like the first, like, 2/3 of the game from the main story. I think when we look at the mission design, I really just don't like the mission design in Act 1 at all. I think in retrospect, it's very tutorial heavy, but like blatant story, like where these sections just feel like they were made just as tutorials, like doesn't feel like naturally insulated within the game. Narratively, it's so blah earlier on for me. It's like I really just don't care about a lot of the story points going on in Act 1 and 2, where essentially Act 2 is just doing Act 1 again, but with some different characters. Like, it's the exact same story. And like, the game does pick up narratively in the back third of the game. Like, the end of Act 2 till the end is very good from a narrative perspective, but gameplay wise, I think it takes a hit there as well. And forcing you to stuff.
Oh yeah, this is the skateboard thing. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was the thing that we saw.
And really, that is why it is as high as it is, because I love the
Wait, so can you just ride a skateboard through the open world?
How many fox stands there are and how repetitive a lot of this stuff is. But Ghost of Tsushima is a game I still really enjoyed, despite having some pretty big flaws with it in retrospect. So for me, it lands at number 7. Number 6 is a game that, to be honest, I look at pretty similar. Have we met?
So I had Ghost of Tsushima higher on here than what I would have on my top of this generation. Which is funny considering I'm pretty sure I was higher than Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, whatever.
Number 6 is a game that, to be honest, I look at pretty similarly to Ghost of Tsushima, and that is Marvel's Spider-Man. And I think the main difference here for me is I have more fun playing as Spider-Man than I do as playing as Jin in Ghost of Tsushima. I think that's really the main difference there. Is I think Spider-Man is a more fun game. I don't think the open world is as good in Spider-Man as is in Ghost of Tsushima. Obviously, the open world in Spider-Man is just Manhattan, which is fine. I mean,
I'm trying to remember the ranking. 5, Lost Legacy, 4, Uncharted 4, 3, Horizon, 2 God of War.
Like, while there are points in the story that I don't really care
And
what's
Last
going on
of Us
in Spider-Man, I do think for the most part it does click more for me than Ghost of Tsushima does. Again, for Ghost of Tsushima, it's really not until the back third that I really care about anything that's going on. But I feel like with Spider-Man, I think there's moments throughout that I do really enjoy, and then the back third is fantastic. I think much stronger than that of Ghost of Tsushima. I do think combat does get pretty repetitive in the game, though. I think I think Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima have very similar flaws to me in terms of their gameplay, in terms of their open world. I just feel like Spider-Man's narrative is slightly stronger, and I feel like Spider-Man's just a more fun game to play. So for me, it lands at number 6. Number 5, I'm surprised it's this high on the list, because I remember when I first played it, I was just kind of okay.
Still haven't lost any
I
subscribers.
I've really grown to appreciate this game to the point where it might be my favorite in the franchise. It's definitely a fight there, and that is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. And I mean, obviously, we're going to be talking about another Uncharted game later on, but it's like, I think there's a debate at this point for me that Lost Legacy is the best Uncharted game. At least in terms of it's the best designed, I think it's the best actual game. Now, narratively, I don't find it as interesting as the other Uncharted game we'll be talking about. Structure-wise, it's very, very well made. I really like the open world element of Chapter 4, where you have this big open world that you can explore, or you can just rush through things. But I really love Chloe as a character. I thought her relationship with Nadine was really interesting, and I really would like to see them again in the future. There are really great set pieces throughout this game, and visually it's fantastic. I think one of the bigger flaws for me, that why it isn't higher than the other Uncharted game, is because it's on a much smaller scale. Its narrative doesn't really have as high of stakes to me as the other game in the series. Again, I'm not as connected to the character or the story of Chloe Fraser as I am to Nathan Drake.
Okay, so you can. That's
I do have
interesting.
this below the other Uncharted game, despite me thinking that this is a more consistent game, a better paced game, a probably better game. But for me, I think the personal connection to Nathan Drake makes the other one stand out a bit more to me, so this one lands at number 5. Now number 4, we have the other Uncharted game. We have Uncharted 4 at Thief's End. And this is a big surprise for me, because I remember when I first played this game, I thought this was one of the best games I ever played. I thought this would be one of the top games on my top games of all time.
Wait, how do I do it?
Every single time I replay this game, my opinion of it goes down. To the point now where, as I said, I think Lost Legacy is probably the better game. I think at Thief's End, something it does pretty poorly is its pacing. I think really the middle section of this game, really, I would say from the point you arrive on the island, for me, that part of the game is so slow. I mean, like, the things before that are fantastic. I mean, like, the opening can get a bit slow, but again, it's really just
there we go.
A lot of the characters and the gameplay mechanics, the rope and everything. And, like,
that's weird. Wait, so you have to actually hold it? That's fucking dumb, though.
It's really once you get to the island that the end
I hate
takes place
that.
on, that it really just slows down for me. I also don't love how, like, Sam is just shoehorned into the story. I do love how this ends the story of Nathan Drake, though. Like, I think it's the perfect conclusion to Nathan Drake's story. And
who the fuck designed this?
The end of this game is handled is so perfect in my eyes that I couldn't put it below Lost Legacy. Despite, again, I think Lost Legacy is a better game. I think it is a more consistent game. But I do find the highs of Uncharted 4 much higher than any point.
Why isn't this a toggle?
I have Uncharted 4 here.
Wait. I want to see if you can change this. This is annoying shit, I mean.
For me, these are kind of in the tier of their own. I think all 3 of these games are 3 of my favorite games of all time. All 3 of these games make my top 10 games of all time, which might be a video I do in the future. But at number 3 here, we have a game that at one point was number 1. Coming into this list, I really thought this would be number 1. At number 3 here, we have Horizon Zero Dawn, and this is a game I adored, even from the first time I played it.
Is there no?
Zero Dawn just feels like a game that's made for me. It is a third-person action RPG, very similar to The Witcher 3, with a narrative that has a similar tone to what we had from the modern day of earlier Assassin's Creed games, which is what I loved about the earlier Assassin's Creed games. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, for me personally, does everything right in terms of its story. I think its world is really incredible. Its world building is really great. I think Aloy as a character is a really strong female protagonist.
Okay, why?
As, like,
That's so fucking weird.
I think overall, the gameplay is really great. I like the focus on bow and arrow gameplay and how you craft things.
That's cool though.
I really have very little flaws.
Okay, why? Why is it playing away the skateboard?
My all-time favorite games. Like, I don't have much negative to really say about Horizon here. Like, the only reason it's not number 1 isn't because my opinion on the game went down. It's mostly because my opinion on the other 2 games went up. Maybe the only reason it's not higher is because its narrative isn't as complex. As the next 2 games we'll talk about, I think the next 2 games that we'll probably have much stronger themes that they explored than Horizon, which again, I still think has a fantastic narrative. So I mean, really, there isn't that much to distinguish these top 3. They're all very, very close. But for me, I felt like Horizon had to land at number 3. Now number 2. At number 2 here, I think this is a perfect game. And it's kind of weird saying that about the number 2 on the list, because to be honest, I think the number 1 game does have more flaws than the number 2 game here. But I just feel like the number 1 game connected with me more. We'll talk about it. But at number 2 here, we still have one of the best games ever made. We have God of War 2018. And this is a masterpiece. I mean, I think this is gonna. It took me a while to really fully accept how great it really is. But I do think as time has gone on, like, I can't think of a flaw with this game. I think it really does everything it tries to do extremely well. I think the one camera shot in this game is really impressive how they were able to pull up. Mind you, there are points that you can tell that they're loading these in the background while you're like just walking around the fast travel room, or you're just like waiting on an elevator. Like, there's points like that, but it's still impressive they were able to keep the one shot camera the entire time. I think it's impressive that they were able to connect this game to the previous games in the series without isolating new people to the series. It's really a masterclass of storytelling, how they were able to engage 2 separate audiences with the same story. I think another impressive element of this game is how well polished it is, and the fact that it is a semi-open world game. Like, it's not as big as Horizon or Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima or these other games, but it does have an open world, and it does have a decent outside quest within it, and the polish is there the entire way through. Narratively, I think it's incredible. I think this father-son bonding story that it tells throughout the game is really, really great. And I think this comes from a character that has been established previously in Kratos. To see him fully develop into a radically different character through the course of the story is really fascinating to watch. I like how they incorporate Norse mythology into the game. I really like a lot of the new characters that are in the game. I mean, Freya, Brock, and Sindri are really great. I really like Boulder as a villain. I mean, like, really, this is a class of a game. And the only reason it's not number 1 is because, for me, the number 1 game connects with me more personally. But I think there's a serious debate for God of War being the best game possibly ever made. Now on to number 1.
Yep.
And again, this is a game that meant so much to me. It's a game I've been waiting for a pretty long time. It was a game that is the sequel to what was previously, at one point, my favorite game of all time. And I know there's so much controversy around this game, but as time has gone on, my opinion of this game just goes up and up and up. And at number 1 here, the best PS4 exclusive for me is The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like The Last of Us Part 2 did everything I wanted it to do for me personally. Like, I understand a lot of people are upset with certain plot points, but I really come to accept the major plot twist in the game. And it's like, I know some people are never going to accept it. People are you serious? Over certain narrative decisions, and that's fine. I mean, good on you for that. But it's like, for me personally, I really do love what they did there. It does everything it can to tell a more cinematic experience. And obviously, that's something I talked about previously with something like the Order 1886. I feel like The Last of Us Part 2 just does it much better. I think the narrative in The Last of Us Part 2 here is on a much grander scale than most of the stories I've ever seen in the history of gaming. And outside of like Death Stranding and possibly Gravity Rush 2, I don't think there's a narrative even close to the scale that was attempted here with The Last of Us Part 2. I do think The Last of Us 2 really hits home on its themes. And while they're really basic when you initially think about the game, I think once you think deeper about the story of the game, I think the more and more you really appreciate what they were able to do here. I think it really is a masterclass of storytelling, and I know people won't agree with me on that, but I have taken so much time to analyze the story of this game. And again, like when I did my spoiler review on this game immediately after it came out, I was definitely a lot more kind of mixed on the story as a whole, but I have played this game 5 times now. I've replayed this game over and over and over again, and it's like the more and more I think about it, the more masterful I look at it. And it's gotten to the point now where I do think there's a serious debate for this being my favorite game of all time. And to be fair, that's also because I think gameplay-wise, this does improve upon the first game in every single way. One of my biggest complaints about the first game was how lackluster
remember
gameplay
those
was.
uniforms I mentioned yesterday?
You'll
need to put one on before we go.
Gameplay mechanics that they've
They
added to this
should
game
be
that
a
really
perfect
make it feel
fit.
like a full-fledged game. It doesn't feel
After
like a
all,
tacked
there's
on
no
gameplay
information
element
I
to what is
can't
a
find.
mostly narrative
Body
experience like The Last of Us Part 1.
measurements
Last of Us Part 2 does truly
Yeah, I
feel
don't doubt that.
to me.
You've
For
never
me,
been one
I
to miss a
really just
detail.
connected with The Last of Us Part 2 in a way that I don't really do with many other games. And I think a lot of that has to do with my connection to The Last of Us Part 1 and how masterfully they were able to continue on that story in my eyes. And because that, I do look at The Last of Us Part 2
It's
as one of
doing
the
it by
best games ever made. For me,
itself.
it's number 1 on this list pretty handily. So there
My
we go.
god, it's the
I mean, that is
exact same
PS4
fucking
exclusive.
disguise as the
Right
last
from
game.
here, you probably won't agree with a lot of my decisions, and that's fine. It's good on you. But for me, again, I had to put The Last of Us Part 2 number 1. I mean, it really just...
Okay.
What's up with those guys? They sure look like men on a mission. But for what?
We will now commence our journey by taxi to Seirio High. Gentlemen, are we all ready? Remember, this case can open up a lot for us depending on how we solve it. So let's leave no stone unturned.
Don't worry. No case is too big or too small. We always swing for the fences. Ain't that right, Tom?
You know it.
Good. Then let's get going.
Yeah, it is funny with Fabio. Like they're really freaking blatantly. I was just looking at the Edgic thing and people were talking about Fabio.
Called that at first. Fabio like rides a white horse and does butter commercials and is kind of a cheese ball. Whatever. Dude, I don't care what they call me. I'm gonna win for $1 million. So I guess my nickname is Fabio.
Again, like, what the fuck was that editing? Anyway, what are we doing? Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, do we just, okay, well, that's lovely. What the fuck is that? Why is it at the bottom?
You must be the repairman. The chairman said you'd be here. I take it you know where you're going?
Yes, but thank you anyway.
Ooh, this place reeks of money.
They are a prestigious prep school.
Wonder if the kids are on recess.
So, our first order of business is to analyze the layout of the school. The schoolyard should provide the proper vantage point. Let's head there.
Oh, did we get a new preview?
It seems this school's design is fairly conventional. See, there's the classroom building, and that must be the gym.
By the way, how many spy cams do you have?
20 in total.
Hey, that's the exact same fucking thing.
Directly to my computer.
Think we ought to split them up between us?
We could, but that might draw extra attention. We stick out enough as is, so people will wonder what we're doing alone. But if we moved in pairs, they'd write us off a lot easier.
Clever as always, Yagamishi. That reminds me of something. When a con man pretends to be a cop, they'll usually bring along a partner. It seems the added person adds legitimacy, unless you're a natural skeptic. All that is to say, Yagamishi knows his material.
Hear that, Tom? You should have been a con man.
Very funny. So, how about Kaito-san and I take half the cameras and you guys take the rest? Where are they, anyway?
Right here. Now, these cameras don't see very far, but they do see wide. 150 degrees, to be precise. So let's try to set them up where we think a bully would be most likely to strike.
So, we just gotta find the teacher's blind spots, eh? You're looking at a natural, buddy.
You would brag about something like that, Kaito-san.
Better stop before I blush.
All right, guys, I think it's time for action.
Okay, Tak and I'll start here. And you guys can work your way around opposite us.
Affirmative.
We've only got 10 cameras, so we gotta use them smart.
So what? This is like a lot more like blatantly heisty than the first game was, I feel like.
Yeah, of course. The shoe lockers. I bet all kinds of team drama goes down here.
I've got Lost Judgment got like really bad reviews, right? Actually, let's look this up. Let's look up a Lost Judgment review.
Challenge your rivals to duels.
I actually don't remember. Like, I remember like, wasn't there a lot of complaint over how filler this was? I feel like I remember that.
That many? Just for the lockers?
Yep.
Hey, I've already watched this video in the past, the Easy Allies review, so I'll do that again here.
So when you do find one, you make it special.
This is the basement.
And this one's been on my radar pretty
Maybe
hard.
what your family needs is a vacation home / vacation home.
After that, sure, let's do it.
Find yours.
Supermo reporting in. I see you've set up a few cameras already. Feed is coming in nice and clear. You guys are doing awesome.
Thanks. How's things on your end?
We just finished with the back of the gym. Next up is the classroom building.
Copy that.
All right, Tuck.
Over the years,
Just
the
follow
Yakuza
my
series has had a steady flow of releases and made a name for itself thanks to its gripping narratives and over-the-top action. 2019 spin-off Judgment introduced a brand new cast of characters while sticking closely to the Yakuza blueprint. Now its sequel, Lost Judgment, continues to follow Takayuki Yagami and friends on a deadly journey to uncover the truth. While it treads familiar ground, it makes smart improvements over its predecessor and tells an enthralling narrative. The story picks up after the events of the first game, with Yagami still working as a detective with his friend Kaito in Kamurocho. After receiving a call from some old friends,
the boys
find themselves headed to Yokohama to help out on a case involving some bullies at school. Things seem pretty straightforward at first, but as they dive deeper into the case, more dark and unsettling details begin to make their way to the surface.
Pushing someone down them ruins their day pretty quick.
You think it's really that often? Still, it is a
We
blind
already
spot.
played through a lot of the footage that they're showing.
Close corners make for poor visibility, making this a #1 choice among assholes.
You don't say.
Deeply satisfying due to his confidence and determination to do what's right.
All right,
even if it means
then
going
let's get a
against all
camera
odds.
here.
Many of the other characters are also well developed, with the game taking its time to explore their struggles and motivations. And while some naturally feel more sidelined, Lost Judgment makes an effort to give even the most minor characters some depth.
Let's move up to the
It's
next
worth
floor.
mentioning that while the overall plot stands alone and you can hop in without prior knowledge, the game does reference past characters and events. So if you're looking to get the most out of its narrative, it's best to play the original Judgment first.
Yagami-shi, are you perhaps on the second floor?
Yeah, we're about to start setting up.
Okay, we're almost done with the first floor. We'll be heading to the east building after. I think we can handle that all on our own. So can you finish up the second and third floors here?
Sure, not a problem.
Splitting up for a bit shouldn't hurt. How about I take the second floor and you do the third?
Works for me.
Some incentive to explore and see what each area has to offer. Aside from taxis you can use to quickly get around town, you now also have a skateboard, which lets you cruise the streets with ease. There are additional skateboards to collect with unique properties like increased speed or better handling, and you can do tricks like kickflips and board slides, making getting around town all the more enjoyable. You can even go to a skate park and compete in races if you feel like shredding. It's an unexpected but cool addition that fits in surprisingly well with the game's playful spirit. Since the primary case involves incidents at a high school, Yagami spends a good amount of time on campus. Aside from running through the halls, there's several school clubs with their own quest chains called School Stories. Among others, there's the Dance Club, where you train the dancers, and the Robotics Club, where you battle other robots on a grid-based board. There's a decent amount of flexibility within each club, such as customizing your robot or your dance moves and outfits. School Stories also rewards you with stat increases, which are needed to progress in club activities, adding an RPG element that's reminiscent of the Persona series. They're a great addition and make the relationships Yagami has with students feel all the more personal.
That sounds wrong.
Besides school activities, there are a healthy number of other side quests that explore a wide range of topics, from bodies haunting the school grounds at night to searching for UFOs. The concepts for most of them are pretty wacky, but they have a lot of heart and often tell emotional stories once you dig into them. While Lost Judgment takes a lot from the Yakuza formula, a huge strength is how much it emphasizes detective work. Instead of kicking the door down like a Yakuza, Yagami is often much more careful on how he approaches things. Scanning for clues, scaling walls, sneaking through areas, and chasing down suspects is all part of the job. He makes use of spy-like gadgets, including a drone and a listening device, and even enlists a dog to help find some clues. There are also times when you need to present evidence or select dialogue, which plays in well with the detective fantasy, but there doesn't seem to be any real penalty for getting something wrong, which lowers the stakes of some encounters. There are some noticeable gameplay improvements over the previous entry, like fewer tailing missions and better pacing for segments, including stealth sections. Chase sequences do eventually start to feel mundane, but thankfully they don't go on for too long. Combat once again plays out in real time, continuing the beat-em-up style more common in past games, rather than the
Sounds to me like you want to get reported. Slacking on the clock.
What a winner. Styles he can switch
wow.
On the fly.
Way to be a
Tiger
jack.
Style focuses on heavy
Who says I'm slacking off?
Targets.
We're allowed to take breaks anytime.
And Snake specializes in counterattacks and disarming enemies. Yagami can also unleash devastating EX actions, which are essentially the same as heat actions from the Yakuza games. Activating EX boost puts you in a powered state. There's a counterattack you can use on boss-type enemies called Mortal Reversal. Even though there are a few new tweaks to the combat, overall, it feels very similar to past entries. It's still fun duking it out, but things never evolve substantially, nor do enemies throw anything at you that'll catch you by surprise. Lost Judgment is a meaty game if you explore all it has to offer. Along with the main story and side quests, there's also a two-player minigame mode where you and a friend can battle it out in Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, fighting Vipers and Sonic the Fighters. Additionally, there's New Game Plus, as well as Premium Adventure, which lets you freely explore the cities unencumbered by the main story, and the Gauntlet, which offers additional challenges, such as defeating bosses or reaching an area within a set time limit. Over the years, Sega has kept up a brisk pace with Yakuza and its spin-offs, releasing games that share a lot of the same DNA. However, despite the similarities between them, Lost Judgment still manages to stand out and make a strong case for itself by tightening up a lot of the weaker aspects of the first game. It introduces fun and addictive side activities like the school stories, and seamlessly immerses you into its world. It may seem easy to write it off as just another Yakuza-type game at first glance,
1,000 yen.
but once
No
you start
questions
to walk the
asked.
streets with Yagami,
I'll cover a pack
you
of
want to see this
smokes,
case
maybe
through
two.
to the end.
You're saying I should take this?
Yeah. Kinda sucks asking you to move on your break.
You know, you're not such a bad guy. In all honesty, the budget's been tight this month.
Yes, this is definitely a lot more, like, this game definitely plays into its, like, investigation sort of things a lot more. Or, like, I feel like the original game, like, kind of half-assed a lot of it. And, like, a lot of it just wasn't fun. While here, I feel like it's a lot more ingrained into the actual game.
Kaito-san, I'm done setting up the 3rd floor.
Same. I've hit up every blind spot I can think of. Thing is, I've still got 2 cameras left. Maybe this tight corridor might be good. The teachers probably passed by without a second glance.
Hey, Kaito-san, don't you think we should be installing these in classrooms? Isn't that where bullying primarily takes place?
You might be right about that. But we couldn't cover every classroom if we wanted to, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, fair enough. Nice to see you putting so much thought into this.
So, as professionals, we'll just have to make do with what we've got. We should set this camera up wherever we can get the broadest view. How about the ceiling in the middle of the hall? Then we'll see everyone going in and out of class. Okay, Tuck, I'm gonna give you a boost. So make sure you find a good spot for that thing, okay?
Uh-huh.
It's always like, wishing out that they cut the black so abruptly there.
You know, we totally could have done this during recess. Everyone's just staring at us.
Too late to whine now. Just do what you gotta do and be done with it.
Huh?
Hey, you saw them, right? Those kids who started trouble at the restaurant.
You noticed too, huh?
Classroom 2-2.
Sounds like we've got some bullies in there for sure. That'll be a prime spot for the last camera.
All right. Just make sure they don't see your face. What is it?
Okay.
Excuse me, but I don't recall there being an inspection today.
Oh.
Sorry to be in your way, ma'am. We won't take long.
I understand, but nobody notified me we'd have any interruptions.
Yeah, and nobody notified us this school hired such gorgeous teachers.
You know what? I don't seem to recognize either of you. Probably because our usual repairmen were here just last month.
Can't say I know anything about that. We're just here doing our job, man.
You can call me Sawa-sensei, not man, and you're in my classroom. Forgive me, but who may I ask called you here?
It was the chairman who called us in. I had assumed all teachers were notified.
Oh, the chairman. Well, I suppose I should leave it at that then, hmm?
Well, when you say it like that...
Did he make this appointment with you directly?
Yep, sure did. So, thank you for your business.
And I'm sure our chairman gave you his name?
His name? Oh, well, that would be...
Should I look it up? Look this up. What is his name? I thought it was that, by the way. It was written, but I don't know.
Yes.
No, for sure.
Of course. I'm sorry for being so rude.
Ah, no problem at all, Teach. By the way, anyone ever tell you how stunning you are? I'd say you're just my type. My dream gal, even.
What?
Ignore him, please. Like I said, we'll get this done quick and be out of your hair. And we're done. Sorry again for the disturbance. We'll be going now. The hell is that, Kaito-san? You forget we're working here?
Yeah, but man, that chick's the spitting image of a teacher I had a crush on. One of my few good school memories.
What, so that makes me the bad guy?
All right. Back to work. I get it.
This is Tsukumo reporting in. Yagamishi, please respond.
Hey man, we just finished setting up the cameras.
Good, so did we. Could you and Kaito-san meet us at the gymnasium then? It's empty at the moment. I thought we might as well check the camera feed and discuss what to do moving forward.
Got it. Then we'll see you at the gym.
Alright. I think we're gonna end here. Yeah, we're at 30 minutes. Alright, we'll end here. Fuck, we're already like 2.5 hours in the game. We're still in chapter 1. But whatever. Yeah, so this will be it for today. I will be streaming tonight. Still in the 100% decide on what I'm gonna stream. I think I'm actually gonna pop in Hitman 3 for a minute immediately after this and just make sure everything's fine in case I do choose that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.